Hi, and welcome to my Advanced Digital Marketing course, Strategy and Execution. Hello, this is Imad Shukair. Today we have a very special chapter. It's chapter 4, and we will speak about the customer journey. Customer journey will not be complete without us covering the psychology part of the customer behavior. We will speak about the rational and the irrational parts of our brain and how we can use such psychological understanding of the human brain to best implement our marketing strategy. As we do in every chapter, we take a little bit of time to cover the technology I use in the production of this course. Maybe I'm not a general rule, I am rather the exception because I use a lot of computers. I have perhaps not less than 10 laptops and a number of desktops. Some of them are Windows, some of them are Mac computers. Today I will show you the two main computers I use on a regular basis. One is a desktop computer on Windows. The second one is the new MacBook Pro, which is with the M1 Max processor. So as you can see here, okay, I will switch the camera. This is the Windows desktop, and here in the back there is a desktop with a Corsair case. They are good. This is why I'm mentioning their name, give them some advertisement. There is a water cooling in here. The processor, I built this computer myself. I'm a technical guy, so if you are into digital marketing and digital transformation, it's good sometimes to do some technical assembly yourself, installations, etc. I built this computer myself around 3 years back. It has a very good specifications I put in it last time. It costs some good amount of money as well. So there is an 18-core i9 processor, which was around $2,000, the processor alone. There is a 1080 Ti graphics card, which is still very good for what we are doing now. Now the latest one, which you cannot find that much for any good price, are 3090. Okay, or 3090 Ti, which are coming new. They are much faster GPUs, which is if you are using highly demanding games. But for this purpose of streaming or recording, you can easily go 4K, 60 frames per second. You utilize 50% of the GPU while recording. Okay, so as you can see with this computer, I'm using two big screens. This is a 5K LG monitor. This is mainly designed to be used with a Mac computer because it is Thunderbolt 3, but this computer also can give me Thunderbolt 3. It has a card special for it. It does not work very well. Sometimes it gives me a little bit of issues, but most of the time it works fine. So this is why I'm using it with Windows. And I have this very wide screen, also another HDMI-based wide screen, which is also LG. I like LG monitors because they are very good quality. Their televisions are also awesome. Okay, so now this is the computer or the Windows setup. Don't forget, I used to work for Microsoft, okay, for around 6 years, a while back. So I'm very much familiar with Windows from all perspectives, even the challenges that sometimes you may face when you're using a Windows-based computer. All right, now let's go and show you the second beast I got just recently. This is the new MacBook Pro with the M1 Max, and this computer is also maxed up. It has a 64 gigs of RAM, 4 terabytes of storage. It is a beast. So here we're talking about $6,000 plus, okay, notebook or a laptop computer. I love this one. I mean, I don't see it expensive. And this is what, when we speak about value. So you buy a computer from Apple for $6K plus, and you don't feel it expensive because the value it gives you is way higher than the money that you are paying. What do you want? Beautiful screen, beautiful keyboard, beautiful touch. You know, performance, you can run any app, even the highly demanding applications from Adobe Suite to 3D rendering to video export. You just name it. It just handles everything. It's super, super, super fast. Even when you put special software here to check how the processors are doing, speed-wise, etc. So you want to go nerdy with the Mac, you can still do that. It's really an amazing computer. Somebody might say, oh, if you want to use a Windows application, can you do that? Of course. Now I'm using a software here. It's called Parallels. This is a virtual machine where you can, on top of it, you can configure other operating systems. Like here, I have Windows 11, 3 versions of Linux, and 1 ARM-based Windows. So just for the sake of showing you how fast this computer is, let us, oh, so you see, Windows is running. Assume I want to restart Windows here, okay, and see how much time it takes to boot Windows. Continue anyway, because one application was running. And then you can see how much time it takes for Windows to start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you can say easily this is faster than a native Windows computer. So now you've got completely Windows running, and I use Microsoft Access to simulate an organizational alignment model. Okay, so yeah. And if you want to switch back, this is the Mac interface. All right, so this is what, when we speak about innovations and value, okay, with Apple, I believe, until today, you know, they don't let you down. You are just getting more value what you are paying for. After this, now, let's begin our Chapter 4 of the Advanced Digital Marketing course. Our agenda for Chapter 4 is we're going to review a little bit of what we've covered in Chapter 3. And then we're going to speak about the customer journey, which consists of 3 stages: awareness, consideration, and decision. And as I mentioned, we will not complete the customer journey without covering the psychology part of the behavior of a customer. A customer, whether a consumer or a business. Because at the end of the day, what you are selling is you are selling to people, to humans. And understanding that you are dealing with the humans, you can somehow take advantage of that if you really understand how people behave from a perspective of emotional intelligence, when we speak about the rational versus the irrational parts of the human brain. We will conclude this chapter by seeing where the customer journey fits within the marketing methodology that we have covered in last chapter, Chapter 3. So what did we cover in Chapter 3? We covered the 4 stages of the customer life cycle, which we call it the marketing methodology. We mentioned it is the heart of the marketing strategy that you develop. So in the last chapter, if you haven't watched the last chapter, I advise you to really go there and watch Chapter 3. In fact, I advise you to watch all chapters in the right sequence, because you will have a lot of benefits, because this course is mainly designed to be seen in the right order, chapters 1 onward. So what we talked about in last chapter, which is Chapter 3, about the marketing methodology, we said, disregards of what you do. You sell potatoes, or you sell burger, or you sell airplanes, or you sell consulting services, management consulting, anything you do or you sell, it goes into 4 stages. One is you deliver to your prospects, okay, what you refer to as brand awareness. So you make your prospects aware of yourself and the value that you can deliver to them, and the competencies that you have. And this field, or this stage, covers the entire field in marketing, where we call it branding. Following the branding or the brand awareness comes the customer engagement stage, which is, again, there is an entire field of marketing called engagement marketing, and engagement marketing all belongs to this stage, which is the customer engagement. And then customer engagement is how to develop the relationship with your contacts, now with your business contacts, and try to drive them so that you can maximize the relationship until you close business with them. And this is what happens in stage 3 of the customer life cycle. Stage 4 covers the customer retention part. So all field in marketing which belongs to customer loyalty and retention, customer retention, falls under the fourth stage of the customer life cycle. Now let's begin chapter 4, where we speak about the customer journey. I believe you're gonna love this chapter because we are gonna be covering a very exciting part of marketing, which is the part that related to the understanding of the human behavior, as we mentioned. Before we begin, let's cover a little bit of some formal definition about what the customer journey is. And we said the customer journey is the sum of customers' experiences and interactions to move prospects into customers. What does it mean? We'll see that in good details. So the customer journey is seen completely from the buyer's perspective. So here you remember, when we speak about the 4 stages of the customer life cycle, we are seeing marketing from the perspective of our business. So we target prospects to make them know about us, and this is the entire thing is branding. And then after we complete the branding exercise or the brand awareness, we move them into the engagement part. So we have divided those into 4 stages. But the customer journey is putting things from the perspective of how customers behave when they want to buy a certain product. The customer journey has 3 main parts. The first part we refer to as the awareness stage. The awareness stage here is a huge thing. You can write a book about this element on how you can deal with it. So let's see what it means. Awareness is about the prospect becomes aware of a possible solution to a problem they have. And you can see here I put an underline of the word problem, because the word problem is very wide in this context. What does the word problem mean here? A problem is sometimes someone who really has a problem. Somebody who's with a headache. They go and search online. You say, I have headache. What could be the solution? And then they find an article, which is how to deal with headache. And who wrote this article? A company that may sell a medicine for headache, or it can be a gym, or a personal consultant, or someone who is interested in a prospect, with that problem. And here now let's take this word problem in a different context. So imagine there is someone with a problem that the person cannot sleep well because he or she has a lot of money and they want to spend the money to enjoy their life. Some people might have this problem. And here where if someone is search online like, how do I become happier, you can deal with that problem. So the word problem does not necessarily mean a real issue, but rather than a psychological case someone might have that will give you a business opportunity. Don't forget, there are companies who create the problem and the solution at the same time. We've heard of those expressions. Like you might say, if you are not happy with what you are doing in this scenario, then we have got the solution. And then they take you and convince you that you have a problem in something, and then they try to sell you a solution for that. So this entire area, which we'll cover more in details, later on when we speak about how we can deal with that from the psychological perspective. Now, what marketing tools we use to deal with people who awareness stage, similar to the tools we deal with the people at the branding stage. Following the awareness stage and the customer journey comes the consideration stage. So someone who is with a problem, as we mentioned, this wide definition of what a problem is, looks for a solution. So you notice here I underlined 2 words. Solves the problem at a feasible price. Now, when we speak about marketing, the word feasible price is very wide term. For someone, maybe buying a burger for $2,000 can be a feasible price. And for someone, maybe $1 is a feasible price. So this is why we as marketers, we have to understand and match the prospect or the potential customer with our product, and the entire positioning, okay, will demand what could be a feasible price for that specific customer. And of course, all this belongs to the pricing strategy that you put as a part of your marketing strategy. And we say solve the problem. It is, again, not necessarily solve the problem, but gives the customer the perception about a possible solution that could help the prospect. The last part is the decision part, which is the prospect decides to buy a product or ignores the subject or searches for something else. This is to focus on these three important assumptions in here. Each marketing activity should focus on primarily one stage of the customer journey with a call to action to the next stage. And then here what we will cover in the next part of this course, where we speak about the rational and the emotional part. So here when we are delivering our marketing message to drive awareness or to tackle awareness and consideration, here where we will cover this two important elements, which are the rational and the emotional part. Now, the marketing strategy should include those elements which are rational versus irrational, which is the emotional part. So emotional or irrational, but we don't want to refer to it as irrational, we call it emotional. Great, so you should have the following already in your marketing strategy. Okay, all right. What is the biggest mistake marketing professionals normally have? Think about it. I'm gonna rest for a second to make you think. Biggest mistake. Okay, the big mistake maybe they may make is they always evaluate things from their perspective, from their personal perspective. Example, you work in a company, you are the marketing manager, and your company sells luxury products. Okay, like it might sell Ferrari. You know, deep inside, your problem might be is you don't understand why those people with high financial capabilities buy those cars. So you may struggle to understand that. And this is what will always, if it goes deep inside, and if you are, some people maybe make a very big mistake. If somebody visits a showroom and they speak to a salesperson from Ferrari, they ask them in front of the people, you know, would you buy this car yourself? And then the sales guy say, oh, never. Even if I have money, I will not buy it. You say, why? And then the guy is convinced that he does not need the car. But maybe for his case or her case, the salesperson working in that company, they don't need the car. They will not consider buying it. But this does not change the fact that there are people who dream to buy the car. So this is why always, if you work in marketing, forget about yourself. Disconnect yourself from why people might be in a complete demand for the products that your company sells. And try to understand, which is the second level, try to understand why those people buy those products. You see, and not only that, this is even level 2. Level 3 will be, it is, try to understand who could also be in a position to buy those products. And this is why when we look around here, okay, let's cover some examples to illustrate the case. Rolex. Why do people buy Rolex? Perhaps you needed to run a very good research. If you work in a company and you are a dealer of Rolex watches, you say, why people buy Rolex? Studies showed that people buy Rolex, okay, in two main scenarios. The first scenario is someone who is studying in university, does not have a lot of money, and then they finish university, they work in a large company, and then they start to make good money. At one time in their life, they start to have some good cash in their account. So they moved from being, counting money and caring about how much they are making into a financial status where they have enough cash in the bank now. And they want to psychologically convince themselves that they are not a kind of poor anymore. And how do they translate that into some action? They go there, buy a Rolex. Interesting. And now which model they buy? Not the top expensive one with a lot of diamond, etc., etc. They buy the one which is around $10,000 to $20,000. So this is why the company, when they introduce product, they say this is the buyer's persona of a Rolex, which is $10,000 to $20,000. You know, there's another group of customers which are the super elite, who are, I mean, elite from a perspective of being niche. They have tons of money and they are into the luxury buying. You know, they have a lot of money, and those people, they buy selections of jewelry and very expensive watches and jewelry. They may also visit Rolex and they say, shall we buy? And they buy another one where, you know, they customize it for them, and now it's not about cash anymore. It might be 100, 200, even $1 million watch. Because now it is not a watch, it's a piece of jewelry. After you buy a Rolex, you discover that it has a glass, which is sapphire crystal glass, but it is not, it is reflexive. What does it mean? They don't polish it. So there are additional brands from Switzerland, more premium than Rolex. And then they are more expensive as well. And then you start to look for those brands, and then the watch can be from the $15,000 on to another. So what I'm saying, those examples, is to tell you that if you work in a company, you know, try to understand how those customers arrive to a stage where they buy those products. Okay, you have to understand that so well in order for you to be able to put a good strategy and execute the strategy the right way, to train the salespeople in the stores on how to speak to customers. And we're going to now go to the second part, which is the emotional intelligence, which is the very, very key element of how you can sell those illogical, you know, irrational products that if people think about them, why would I need this? But of course, there's not, they need them very badly. You know, some people might not sleep at night, you know, in order to get those kind of luxury products. All right. Why? Let's understand it in the next slide now. Okay. Okay. There are two parts in our brain. We're going to show them to you now. There is a rational part and emotional part. Why? It's because we are humans. So if you are into marketing, you are not selling robots, you are selling humans, right? And this is what successful multinational companies do understand, and they understand so well, is they are not selling, you know, people who are very much rational. They are selling human beings, in fact, which are both rational and emotional. So this is why understanding your customers is very key element of doing that. So this picture here illustrates the rational part. Okay, we're going to show you a fantastic slide now after that, where we see the language we use when we target the rational part of the brain and the language we use when we target the emotional part. So if I show someone a graph, I am targeting the emotional part of the rational part, the rational part, of course, because I'm trying to tell them there is a growth of 5% on your investment, sir, and if you put more money with us, they're going to be making more money, because this is what the history told us about the investments for the past 5 years. Okay, so speaking now to the rational part. And the emotional part, when we talk about feelings, and this is why when you see a picture of family, you know, belonging, so the emotional part takes us beyond money. This picture actually for something inside our brain called connectomes, because our brain is made up of connectomes and the neurons, right? So connectomes are what parts of our brain is connected with what. So someone might value a lot family, you know, and this is why family is connected more with a state in the brain saying money is irrelevant. So family comes first. So understanding that can help you, you know, close more business with such people or prospects who really value family more. Somebody might say, how do we know there is emotional and rational parts of the brain? Of course, this is very simple. It has been discovered in biology from so many years back. So they took a person and they asked, or they put the person a certain emotional stage by making people think about emotions, love, family, feelings. And they put a kind of an MRI machine on the person's brain, and they measured, and they discovered this part of the brain is active, which is called the limbic system. Okay, I'm not a biologist, so if you are interested, you can go to sources like Wikipedia. You can read more about it. So during the emotional state of a brain, this part of the brain is active. We come here and we see what language talks to this part of the brain. So when we want to position a product, we can target the rational part in the brain or the irrational part of the brain. Now, somebody might say, why don't we target both? The answer is this is not the best strategy. Why? Because as we have seen in the next slide, a person cannot be emotional and rational at the same time. Okay, so our brain switches between rational and irrational. It's very interesting. Okay, so this is why if you want to tackle both of them at the same time, you confuse the person in front of you. So that's why I say we've confused the customer. So a lot of confusion happens when you try to tell the person, this makes you feel so good and it's half the price. Try to tackle the emotional part first. And then once the person is convinced, if they buy, done. Don't go to the rational part. What do we use? Rational or irrational? It depends on the product. Okay. Example, we are selling this dress. So a lady walks inside a clothes shop. And the salesperson comes and greets the lady. And then he asks the lady, so now the first scenario. If the person is using rational language, or he's trying to address the rational part of the brain, what he would tell the lady, this dress is so good. It's made out of good material. It is very durable. You can wash it in the washing machine. You can wear it without even ironing it. Okay? And best part of all of that, it's now on sale, 50% off. But let's see how you can sell the same dress, okay, using the emotional part. The lady walks in the shop and the salesperson is saying, hi, you look interested in this dress. I have an idea. Why don't you try it? And then the lady, maybe she will accept, of course, and then she goes to the fitting room, she wears the dress, she comes out. He takes her to a mirror. And then he tells her, look at the mirror. You look so beautiful with this dress. Or this dress, it depends on the specific expression. The idea is this dress is contributing to her beauty. Once she is convinced with that, which is not very difficult for her to be convinced based on what the person has said, if the person is genuine, because the dress has to really be good, okay? That's why we said any good business starts with good products. So if the dress is good, and the lady sees herself beautiful after the compliment from the salesperson, then she will buy it without looking at the price sometimes. This is how you can sell a dress for $50,000. Because if someone has the financial capability, when they go to buy a dress, they don't care that much about how much it costs. They care about buying a dress that can make them feel good and look beautiful. So if you are into marketing and you look at these two pictures here, right, for a website, for an e-commerce website, you can simply look here and see. This picture focuses on the rational part of the dress, and this picture focuses on the emotional part, because this picture focuses on how this lady feels. She feels confidence, she feels elegant, it's showing her beauty. But this picture, it's showing how practical this dress is. Now let's cover the language we use when we speak emotional. Okay? So, when you speak emotional, it's how you will feel when you buy or use a product. And this is so critical, huh? Because we as a human, at the end of the day, whatever we do in our life, it is about how it feels, they say. So that's why if you speak with people, if you make them feel good, they will get attached to you. If you make them feel bad, they will avoid talking to you. So in marketing, is if you convince someone or if you sell some product to people, that product makes them feel happy, finish, they will buy it if they can. So I don't target the wrong product or don't target the product to the wrong people, they will never buy it, you know. But if you target the right product with the right people and you make the product, make the people feel good, finish. This is how you'll be the best marketing professional in the entire world. Great, so it's about feelings. It's not about the product, but the experience. So never try to show how good the product is from specifications, price, etc. No, this is the rational part, which is you may cover a little bit, but mostly it's about what the experience rather than the product. So if you put an advertisements, and you want to target the emotional part of the brain of your prospects, you will say how it feels to use this product. Okay, it's an entirely new experience. You know, there are specific language where they speak about feeling rather than the product. We're going to see in the next slide the language we use for the rational part. Great. So we use an expression like it will make you happy. The language is you will look different and special. So this is again language that belongs to the emotional part of the brain. So this product will keep you young, you know, because people they are excited about staying young, trendy, etc. Okay, so emotional products, they are fancy on the package, okay, and bigger is better in here. So if you are selling any small shoes, if you put it in a very large, you know, a box, it's better. Because the form factor in this case plays a lot when people want to have feelings. So it's not like about being practical, but about being what? Impressive. So this is when we speak about the emotions. It is more casual, less formal. When you speak emotions, less is more. I saw many luxury products in electronics as an example, the most expensive ones. The user manual is 2 pages. But the user manual in a product which is way cheaper in price, it is like 20 pages. It has all the technical specifications, blah, blah. Because they want to convince the person that this product is highly technical and it has very high specs. But when you are in the emotional part, you don't want to talk about that. You don't want to cover that. You want to remove all the specifications. Don't put the material, don't put the type. Let people just touch it, feel it, and buy it. So this is why it's more abstract. It should create sometimes some type of confusion. Like you go there, you say, oh, this is a sports shoes for $2,000. And then you look at the box, like the box sometimes does not show that this is a very expensive product. So they make the box cheap sometimes as a part of the strategy to make people think, why the box looks this way? How come? But the entire experience of presenting the product has to match. So people open it and then they see a shoes which is different colors. It looks strange. So this is why you can impress when you want to speak to the emotional part of the brain, it has to match with the entire strategy. This is why humans are imperfect, correct? And this is why the emotional part of selling or the emotional strategy of selling assumes that you are selling to humans. Now let's speak about the rational language. So in biology, they have done experiments and they discovered, okay, this is the prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of the brain, which is active when people are on the rational stage. And the language is used, you know, high quality and durable. Best deal ever, price and quality. Best reselling value, a profitable investment. buy now and save 20%, 50%. I don't know how much percentage you want to put. Okay, so the discount. So always if you are discounting, you are telling people, when you are talking to us, you are on the rational part. Made of premium and quality material. You will not be able to buy the same in the future at the same price. So yeah, it's available, but it will be higher in price. Focus on the product and not the package. You remember on the previous one, you focus on the package first. So here you focus on the product. The package might not be good. More formal, because if you make the package very fancy, rational people will not buy it. They say, oh, they are charging me for this box, so why I will not use it. So I'm sure the box costed them a lot, and I'm paying for it, so I will not buy it, the product, because I'm sure they took from the quality of the product. More formal and less casual. On there, it's more casual than formal. And here, more is better. So if the user manual is 100 pages, this means, wow, I mean, the guys put a lot of efforts into this product. So here it assumes robots are buying, not a human. Why? Because, give people a perfect story and they will buy. Tell them this is great price, great product, best specifications, etc., they will buy. There is the rational part and the emotional part. When do we do? I mean, sometimes confusing. Well, it depends. So if you are selling real estate, you need to handle both. And then you can handle both at different times. Example, you might say selling a real estate unit will go into 2 stages. First, we get the emotional part done. And then we sell. At the time of signing the contract, there will be the rational part, which is taking place. So how do? We arrange for a visit to the real estate unit, and we make sure during that visit we get the entire family. Like we bring the man and his wife, and perhaps the kids with them. We make them go there and enjoy their time to feel the experience of being in that community. And if the man asks during that visit, how much is the price? You tell him, sir, we will send you the price later. Why? Because the person now is on which stage? Is on the emotional stage. If you tell him the price, we'll make the guy confused. You see, a lot of technique is when you are at a stage, you ask a question on the second stage, we tell you we will do it later on. All right? So after the people go home, and then they feel like, wow, it was an amazing experience. Okay, next day in the morning, because people more in the morning are into which stage, emotional or rational? In the morning, people are more into rational, the evening, emotional. Interesting, people to know that the timing is key sometimes. Or sometimes you can drive people to move them from one stage to another before giving them information. Yeah, we will. This is something even a bigger story. I will give you another example about that. So conclusion, you can send the price for the real estate unit, okay, like around 10 o'clock in the morning to the person. And why? Because we want now the person, because the information we send it in a way, okay, that this is a very good area. If you invest in it, the price in the region in this area has appreciated by 20% for the last 5 years. Okay, so if such information is available, okay, we try to position it from the rational part. But if we know we are selling the unit for $1 million and any area around it, any villa of the same specifications has $500,000, so we don't send the data in the morning, we send it in the evening. And then we say, for such a beautiful community, living over there is something which is of an outstanding experience, and all of our tenants, they love being there, okay? And the investment won't make blah, blah, blah. And then it will require you, sir, to pay that amount of money for this, for this unit, okay? Finish. And then close the door on negotiation. Make it feel like you love your family, you buy it. You don't love your family, you don't buy it. And then you find the guy, if he or she has enough money, they will buy it. Interesting. So I hope by this you've got the idea about rational versus emotional. One element here which I wanted to say in the previous slide, which is sometimes if you are very clever, and then you want to talk to the emotional part of the brain, uh, you need to make sure you put the person in the emotional stage or emotional state before you speak emotional, right? How can you move people's mood from irrational to rational? By telling them a story. You have seen those presentations where people go on, they stand in front of people and they say, last year I had a very difficult time in my life. I had my entire family being, and then you make people like about to cry, everyone in the room, and then they throw what they want from them. So what they have done, they have moved people from the irrational part, and majority of people moved into the emotional part, And how do you move people from the emotional part to the rational part? This is when you use a word like, think about it. Think about it. You will be making 20% profit if you buy this. Everyone who bought this. So it's the style of the language. And then when you tell people, think about it. When you tell someone, think about it, or calculate it, or, take your calculator. Or if you enter a meeting and you have a calculator in your hand. Okay? So when you are calculating, okay, you are mainly using the rational part of the brain. All right? I hope those examples make good sense. And now let's cover this last slide in chapter 4, which is to say about how the 4 stages of the customer life cycle, in fact, integrate with the customer journey. So the customer journey, it's from the customer perspective, whereas the marketing methodology is from the business perspective. So here, understanding the customer journey is key to developing your marketing strategy, because here where you understand your buyers, personas, and then you develop on how you will handle the prospects and establish brand awareness, customer engagement, customer conversion, customer retention by understanding the problems your customers might have and talking to them in their language and tackling to their problems and driving them to consider you by showing the value proposition that your products or services give. And then the word generic, the word value proposition, it has both parts, the rational and the irrational parts. But of course, you avoid using both equally. Always, 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 you have to make it like 80-20, 80% emotional, 20% rational, or the other way around, You won't never be able to sell luxury products by targeting the rational part. Done deal. You sell luxury products when you are talking to the emotional part of the brain, because this is how it feels. In fact, a lot of products also can be sold using the emotional part. And this is what a lot of marketers underestimate, the power of speaking to the emotional part of the brain. And the last part here is, of course, the customer convergence is when you make people decide the decision and they buy. Of course, the customer retention is very key. Okay, and it is not a part of the journey, because once this covers mainly until people become make a decision to become customers. After they become customers, an entire strategy, which is it's a part of your marketing strategy on how you establish continual relationship with the clients, and you reward them for doing business with you, and you keep the relationship open, and then you maximize the value with those prospects. One last thing, does this apply for B2B or B2C? Well, it applies to both. So this is really amazing. Succeeding in business requires dealing with others as humans. And I have to admit, it is not easy. Yeah, so it's not easy. So we have to practice and learn, okay, on how to do that successfully. By this, we conclude chapter 4. Okay, and chapters 5, we're going to be speaking about the marketing, sales, planning, and management. So this next chapter will be very exciting for those who are into marketing and sales, because it will speak about sales forecasting, sales pipelines, etc., etc. Thank you for watching chapter 4, and please don't forget to share your feedback and any topic you want me to cover or put more attention on. And in case you want to communicate with me, please feel free to send me emails at ask@imatchocare.com, or you can come and visit my websites to know more details about what I do, which is www.imatchocare.com. If you want to be my Patreon, again, go to patreon.com/imatchocare, and I really thank you if you want to do that. Thank you for watching this chapter. I hope you liked it, and looking forward to meeting you virtually in the next chapter, chapter 5. Cheers, bye-bye.